Newcastle United latest news talk.
With talkSPORT's Jet Cunningham. Live, weekly, on NUFC Talk TV. The voice of the Toon Army.
What is that sound? Hello, welcome to the Jack Cunningham Show. Me, Jack Cunningham. We're going to be looking back at the win over Aston Villa last night. An absolutely huge win for Newcastle in the FA Cup. 3-1 victory. What a performance. Win of the season for me. I'll be going through exactly why as well. I mean, look, just thought that ultimately it was absolutely top draw. You know, it was really, really important victory for Newcastle in every single way. Now, if you are watching along on NUFC Talk TV, please get your comments in. Want to hear from you all throughout the day, throughout the hour and a half I'm going to be on. It's brilliant to get as much interaction as possible. And of course, if you're listening on the radio as well, on DAB in the Northeast, you can also head over to NUFC Talk TV and watch along and get involved in the comments. So we're going to go over the victory. We're going to look at some of the worst refereeing I've ever seen in my life. We will talk about that. We will talk about Sandro Tonali, who has deservedly been criticised this season, but I thought it was absolutely top draw performance from him. We're going to talk about Nick Woltemade, who in that number 10 role I thought was absolutely brilliant. And we're going to also look ahead to Karabag a bit as well later on. We'll go through your comments as well. So if you want to keep getting them in throughout, that will be brilliant. So yeah, Two Nuts, first of all, hello, welcome. Great to have you on as usual. And look, I mean, going into the game, I'm not sure many people had too many high expectations simply because of how good Aston Villa are at Villa Park. I think also the fact that, yes, Newcastle had beaten Spurs, but I just don't think there was too much expectation that we were going to get a win. I think a lot of people just wanted to probably see a good performance that we could take on into the games going forward. Instead, what we got was a magnificent display from Newcastle, despite some of the worst refereeing I have ever seen in my life. I mean, genuinely, what on earth was Chris Kavanagh doing? Don't worry, we will go over it all. But let's have a quick recap of the game. So, I mean, saw the team lineup and I was happy with it. I think Ramsdale is the cup keeper, so I was absolutely fine with that. You know, Kieran Trippier has, well, I mean, I've criticised him quite a bit this season. I think that he shouldn't be playing as many games, but equally there was no other options. What else was he meant to do? There was literally what else was he meant to? What else was Eddie Howe meant to do? Yes, he could play Leo Shaha potentially, but I think Trippier is always going to play in a game at Villa Park. So no, Malik Chow played what feels like his 70th game in a row. There was no Sven Botman, which touch on a little bit as well. Dan Burns slotted in at centre-back, and Lewis Hall was back at left-back, so I was really pleased with the back four. I was excited to see that it was a 4-2-3-1. You know, Tonali and Ramsey partnering each other in the heart of midfield, with Murphy on the right, Woltemade in the 10, Barnes on the left, and Asula up front. So when I saw the 11, I was pretty pleased, I've got to be honest. Like, I thought this is kind of what I wanted to see. Kind of wanted to see Woltemade start a game in that deeper position. I don't know if that's going to be his position going forward, but what I will say is he seems a lot more comfortable there and much more able to dictate things in the game. And look, we will touch on that as well. And again, as I said, please get your comments in. So Christina, hello, welcome as usual to you. And yeah, just keep getting your comments in, everyone. But yeah, look, so saw the team and I was happy. I was happy with the team. I looked at Aston Villa's team and I thought, okay, they've rotated. I was expecting them to rotate. I thought their midfield looked definitely a chance to expose it simply because of the fact that Morgan Rogers wasn't going to be in there. It was they put Barkley in the centre midfield instead, so Rogers was moved out wide. And then, of course, Tammy Abraham starting up front for them as well. But look, I looked at the team and I thought, okay, right, this is two teams who've made a few changes. There's clearly there's clearly an idea here of like a bit of rotation from both sides. And I thought when I saw the 11, I was like, all right, I feel a bit more confident now. And I thought once the game started, we were the better team. Newcastle were the better team for the opening minutes. Felt like we were in control of the game. Didn't exactly create a lot, but I enjoyed the midfield's balance. I thought Woltemade was brilliant whenever we played it into his feet. He was holding it up. He was bringing others into play. He was interlinking beautifully. Tonali was running the game. Ramsey was playing really well against his old team. Murphy was disappointing, and Barnes wasn't at his best either. But I thought overall it was a good start to the game from Newcastle. I'm really pleased with the way we started the match. And then from there, it's sort of, well, we give away a free kick on the edge of the box. Douglas Luiz dinks it over the top, and no one's marking Tammy Abraham. Equally, the reason no one's marking him is because he's a yard offside. And there's no VAR in the FA Cup until the 5th round. Even though we're at a Premier League ground, it doesn't make a lot of sense. But anyway, whatever. The flag didn't go up. Yeah, the flag didn't go up. It was poor defending. Still, a decent finish from Tammy Abraham. Although I'd argue maybe Ramsdale could do a little bit better. But feels like more shots that up against Ramsdale end up in the back of the net. So then it kind of felt like, is it going to be a bit of deja vu in the case of, are we going to just not be able to break down a low block, pass it around forever, and struggle? And I thought after that again, we were decent. Should have had a penalty. There was no way that was not a penalty on Lewis Hall. Probably could have had another penalty when the ball's played over the top by Hall for Barnes. Equally, Villa had one header wide from Leon Bailey, but I didn't think they were dangerous. And again, I thought Newcastle gained control of the game again. And then, of course, Luca Dean comes in and absolutely cleans out Jacob Murphy on the right wing. It is a shocking tackle from the Frenchman. And again, with VAR, that's a red card. But he gets away with it, gets a yellow card. We do then get their player sent off when from an Aston Villa corner. I don't know what they were doing, to be fair, but Trippier plays the ball forward. Murphy brings it down on the halfway line. We have 3 men running through on goal. Bezo comes out. He wipes out Murphy. It's a red card because Murphy's pushed it past him and we've got 3 players waiting for an open goal. So it's a red card. That was the only actual decent decision from the referee, in fairness. And the game changes. I've seen Aston Villa fans talk about it afterwards, saying about they think that Bezo should just let us run through and have the chance and maybe score, make it 1-1 at half time. I get that. I still think with 10 men, it wasn't guaranteed that we were going to win. I see why the goalkeeper did it, simply because he's come out, he's cleaned him out, he's understood that if he makes that tackle, and if he brings down Jacob Murphy, then ultimately it is a red card. But they do have a 1-0 lead. They do have Emi Martinez on the bench. He probably thought that actually the 1-0 lead was the most sensible decision rather than Newcastle equalising on the stroke of half time. We've seen, how many times have we seen teams equalise sort of just before half time and then the game entirely changes? It happens all of the time. So I kind of got why Bezo did it. And then, look, I mean, second half starts. Newcastle are in total control of the game. Again, helped by Woltemade playing in that 10 role. Tonali popping it around. Yeah, it was still a bit more of the same of like lots of crosses coming at the box, but I thought there was actually some nice inventive play in and around the box as well, which was great to see. And then Woltemade does brilliantly, gets the ball played into him. He turns a man, he holds off another man, he whips out Trippier. Trippier takes a touch, puts a cross in. Luca Dean's hand is above his head. He's in the box. He's about 4 yards in the box. It's a blatant penalty. It is the most clear penalty you've ever seen in your life. And incredibly, he gives couldn't believe it. They actually couldn't believe it. It was genuinely unbelievable. I can't believe that was given, like, that was given genuinely can't believe it was given. Totally, totally ridiculous to somehow not give that as a penalty. Thankfully, we score from the free kick. So Trippier gets the free, and also what was incredible was that the referee marked out the free kick from exactly where Trippier put the cross in, because I think he realised after he'd given the decision that actually how could that have been? Oh wait, where else could you be apart from inside the box? The assistant referee also needs to help the referee as well. I mean, he's closer to it. He can see it. He's just scared to make the decision without VR, I think. And again, I'll touch on the referee properly in a little bit. I'm just kind of doing a bit of an overview of the game. Comes in, Trippier's ball is cleared by Martinez. It was actually a decent free kick in. Barnes does really well to hold off his man and let it run for Toon Army. He smacks it a goal. It is flying into the top corner, by the way. And takes a little deflection and goes in. Finally, a bit of luck. And then the game totally changes from then, and we're all over them. What I loved about that was how then immediately he was going to bring Gordon and Langer on anyway, just because we realised he didn't change that decision. He brought on Gordon and Langer for Sula and Murphy. And then Gordon was a bit unlucky with a shot that went just wide, deflected just wide. Trippier put in a really good corner that Barnes headed just wide. And we were all over them. And then comes the second goal, which is something that I feel like Newcastle have not done well enough this season at all, which is shoot from outside the box. I mean, it really, really feels as if, like, the shooting from outside the box is something that we need to do. Like, if we think about it, Newcastle have some extremely good people who can shoot from outside the area. It's as simple as that. Like, it is as simple as that. We have some extremely good players who can shoot from outside the box. Like, we have Jacob Ramsey can score from outside the area. Tonali can score from outside the area. Barnes can score from outside the area. Just take more shots, lads. Like, that is something that I have been crying out for this season. And finally, we're going to put another really good cross in from the right hand side. It's cleared, comes out to Sandro, and he hits an absolute beauty. It is an absolute rocket into the far side of the net. It was so good. What a strike. What a goal from a player who has a thunder of a right foot. I mean, Howe always speaks about it, that he thinks he wants him to shoot more. And, like, honestly, what a shot from Sandro Tonali. So good, so powerful, literally unstoppable. It might even be on the keeper's side. It doesn't matter. He has no chance. And I love the celebration from him afterwards, given, all of the talk and speculation around his future. Goes over to the away end, and then afterwards he goes and gives Eddie Howe a hug as well. And it was just a brilliant moment for Sandro. It was a brilliant moment for Newcastle. And then from there, Aston Villa's 10 men, they come on to us a little bit, but I never really felt like we were in much danger. There was some good defending, specifically from Trippier, Malik Chow. In fact, the back four defended really well. There was one shot, I think, Jin Sancho he cut inside from the left and had a shot that went just wide. And then we get our third goal, and it was the goal that Woltemade deserved as well. The Bogard has an absolute nightmare at the back. I don't know what he's trying to do. He plays it into Buendia in the area. Willock does really well, nips in there. Buendia pokes it through, and then Woltemade smashes it into the top corner to end his goal drought. Hasn't scored since December for us. But look, it was a great birthday present for Nick, and then the interview afterwards between him and Sandro was lovely as well. And then also really enjoyed the fans at the end as well, whereby Malik Chow pushed Sandro Tonali in front of the Newcastle away end to get his own little adulation. And then, of course, Woltemade got the same thing as well. And it wrapped up what, for me, was the win of the season. I think the win of this season. to be honest. Like, I've got to say that if we think about genuinely what I saw from Newcastle, given the fact we had no Bruno Guimaraes, properly brilliant performance from the Magpies. Really, really good. And 2 away wins in a week. Perfect response to that horrible defeat against Brentford. We've also got 2 more away games as well. We've finally picked up some form away from home. If we can go to Karabag now, if we can go to Karabag now with I think as long as we don't lose, I'd be extremely happy. As long as we don't lose, that'd be great against Karabag. And then look, we have Manchester City away in the Premier League, which is one of those games where it's kind of a free hit. We're not expecting to get much there, but look, we've managed. I don't think many people were expecting us to get much here either. To be honest, I don't think there was many people expecting us to get anything from Aston Villa, especially given Villa's form at home. Yes, they were without important players, but we without some important players as well. So, look, for me, win of the season, simply because of the refereeing decisions, which were abysmal. Truly shocking decisions. And then also the fact that we didn't have Bruno Guimaraes. And Newcastle have only won once since Bruno Guimaraes. Since we signed Bruno Guimaraes and he became a starter. They've only won 1 game in all competitions. That is now 2 games. It was the perfect response to being without our captain and our leader, who's been our best player this season. So, look, I think I'm extremely happy. Really, really happy with the performance. Really happy for Eddie Howe. Really happy for the players. And I'm hoping that in the middle of February, this is now the start of a big, big end of the season in all competitions. We'll see we get in the FA Cup draw. That will be tomorrow. So let's have a look at who we get. It would be nice if we could get a decent draw. There's still plenty of teams that you would hope to beat, especially at home. And then hopefully in the quarterfinal, and then the semi-final isn't far away either. So that is where we are with the game and my review of the game. I'm going to have a quick run through some comments. Apologies, I did lose the stream briefly, but we're all good now. Don't worry about it. Yeah, so let's have a look at some of the comments. So, right. Connor asks, has Bruno injury released Tonali? As when Bruno plays, everything goes through him. Tonali controlled the midfield and pushed further forward without Bruno. Interesting question. Now, Eddie Howe was asked about this after the game by Matthew Reesbeck, the BBC Newcastle commentator, excellent broadcaster. And he asked him about the second half. Yeah, he asked him about the second half and Tonali's pushing forward and being more involved in the attacking play. Now, I think that actually this is a fair point, because when we play Bruno and Tonali together, they both kind of usually they kind of swap around. So sometimes we have Tonali in the 6, we have Bruno in the 8, and then they switch around within games. Other times we have Tonali starting as the 6 entirely and Bruno as the 8 most of the time anyway. Now, the thing is, they're both kind of number 8s, really. Tonali coming in at the 6 role last season transformed our year 100%, but that, I think, I was just getting him back into the team and actually having him combine him with Bruno and Joe Linton. So I don't know if that was necessarily so much about having him in that 6 role. I think it was more just having Tonali back in the team. So that's what I think about with Tonali just in general for last season. Now, this season, I think, for whatever reason, his form has been up and down. We're going to have to see if hopefully this is the start of him back to those levels that we saw last year. I hope it is. I think everyone hopes it is as well. He was brilliant yesterday. Like, it wasn't just the goals. Like, his all-round performance was top draw. Like, it didn't seem like he was losing the ball very often, because that's been the one thing this season. Like, he's lost the ball a lot not much pressure. Not much pressure. Sort of quite easy for him to be in those positions to cause the problems, I guess. But, like, I still think that even though it was against 10 men, I just thought even with 11v11, Tonali was still one of our better players in the game. Like, I thought he was all action Tonali, that one that we saw last season. Now, without Bruno, the midfield options at the moment are quite limited, especially with Miley currently injured as well. We've got Joelinton coming back soon enough. Hopefully Miley and Joelinton will be back at the exact same time. Now, I think in the last few weeks, Willock has stepped up big time as well. Had a goal disallowed against Spurs that should never have been disallowed, but I still think that Willock stepped up massively. And Jacob Ramsey is now playing consistently well. Now, again, I've said all throughout that I don't think he was playing badly at the start, but I think we're now starting to see him play like 7s out of 10s type level of performances, to be fair. So that's what I think about with Tonali. Really good question, though. Really interesting. Now, I've got another one here from Choppy. I've heard that Flash Gordon is going to Newton Heath. Yes, this is a rumour of Liverpool being interested in Sandro Tonali. So, not Sandro Tonali. Don't know. I was still talking about Tonali there. Apologies. But Anthony Gordon. Liverpool interested in Anthony Gordon. Now, the source isn't exactly brilliant, I've got to be honest. And yeah, well, the source isn't great. I'm not gonna go on too much of the source, but what I will say is that the likes of Liverpool have been linked with Gordon for a while. We know Gordon is a Liverpool fan. He nearly joined in the summer of 2024 in sort of a PSR deal, and actually, weirdly, it was kind of Newcastle who offered him on that one. So we know that interest is there. That long-standing interest is there from Liverpool for Anthony Gordon. We can't really just brush over it and forget about it. It is a thing. I think if Gordon's going to go anywhere, I think it would be Liverpool. I don't know, because I do think, despite that, again, he's a player I've criticised this season, and he's a player that a lot of fans have criticised this season. But, like, he is still an important player for us. And I think that, actually, again, he's another one. Yeah, I mean, I actually think he's another one who has improved relatively recently as well. I do think his performances are improving. And again, like, if Liverpool are to come in with him, like this rumour, by the way, if no one's seen it, it's £95 million is the rumour that Liverpool are going to spend on Anthony Gordon. Now, if that were the case, I don't think Newcastle should be remotely hesitating. I think that should be a case of, thank you for your service. We'll let you go to your boyhood club and we will reinvest the money. I don't know if it will be 95 million, let's be brutally honest. I think you're more looking at probably 60 to 65 million for Anthony Gordon. But it's going to be the summer's going to be a strange one, especially with what we got potentially coming up in the rest of the season. We don't know where we're going to finish. We don't know if we're going to get European football. We're going to see if we're going to actually end up with, we're going to have an FA Cup run now, see how far we get in the Champions League. There's still a lot to happen. But I do think that Gordon's performances have improved for us in all-round play. So, like, that's where I am with Anthony Gordon. Now, in terms of talkSPORT knowledge on Gordon, we don't know anything else around him, his future, and I expect that might change as the summer goes on. But Gordon is a player who Newcastle probably wouldn't want to lose at all. But again, if the right fee comes in, you can see it. You can see him going. And one thing I will say is, if you look at Liverpool's team, Florian Wirtz is now starting to play really well. He's got a really good link up with Hugo Ekitike. I don't actually know if Alexander Isak gets in their team anymore. I don't think he actually does. Salah might go in the summer. They probably have to, and Cody Gakpo's not at the level for what Liverpool want to be. So I would say that you're going to see Liverpool sign a new left winger in the summer. The question is, will they go Premier League proven? And if they do go Premier League proven, then Anthony Gordon is the perfect choice. And if they don't go Premier League proven, then you're probably looking at someone like a Bradley Barcola or someone like that instead. So the Gordon situation is really interesting. I don't know what I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know how it's going to go. But what I do know is that we'll have to see what happens with Gordon. Like, it's as simple as that. You know, we're not really sure what will transpire. Not really sure how it'll go down. But equally, look, Liverpool are going to come. If Liverpool do come in for him, then Newcastle will have a decision to make. And from there, we'll have to see what happens. But good question. Again, nice one. And then, well, what's we got here? Got Harpal asking me, what's the inside scoop for this summer, mate? I'll be honest, don't know anything as of yet. The only thing that we know so far is that Sandro Tonali is potentially keen on a move back to Italy. Now, I think that's always been sort of known. The bigger question is, can Juventus or AC Milan afford him? And the answer is no, they can't. So there's no way Juventus or AC Milan can afford him unless they offload a load of players. I'm sure he would want to go back to AC Milan. That is his dream. I don't know if he wants to go yet, but that's the only sort of inside scoop that we have for Newcastle summer transfer business. Now, I saw some other reports that it's looking like a big summer ahead for Newcastle no matter what happens. And I think it needs to be. You know, I really think it needs to be. I think whatever happens from now until the end of the season, I'm expecting an overhaul of the squad. So there's an overhaul of the squad. Either way, we've got to look at the point of, look, there's a few players here now who probably have got to the point where they aren't at the level that we need them to be at anymore. They have been excellent for us. That has absolutely nothing to do with how good they've been for us. But we're at the point now, if we're going to be the team who the owners keep saying that they want to be, and this 2030 project, then some of these players need to move on. And it'll be a case of like, thank you for everything you've done for us. This is nothing more than simply the squad regeneration. Now, if you think about Pep Guardiola, he always regenerates his squad. Like, again, it's always emotional when these players leave for him, but ultimately he understands that he needs to do it. So Alex Ferguson did it. Jurgen Klopp did it a couple of times as well. Jurgen Klopp just didn't want to do it a third time at Liverpool because he understood that there was going to have to be a squad evolution. And we've kind of seen that this season with a few players for Liverpool who've been stalwarts for years, their performances dropping off. So there will need to be an overhaul in the summer. Now, what that overhaul involves, I don't necessarily know. It probably involves a few of the first 11 players potentially leaving, and then also a few of the ones outside of it as well. Now, as long as from there, Newcastle invest the money wisely and Ross Wilson does his job as the sporting director and looks away from Prem Proven, which is what he said he's going to do, then I think that we will have a good summer and we'll be looking at a great position going into next year. So that's kind of where we are on transfers. Now, again, if you are listening on the radio DAB, please head over to NUFC Talk TV and get involved in the live chat. And if you are not an NTTV member, please do consider signing up. It is £4.99 and you get exclusive access to everything on the channel. And look, I mean, the guys, the lasses involved in the show really do bring you some great Newcastle content all day, every day, basically. So please do consider being a member. And look, as you can see here with the names who always prop up in the comments, like really loyal fan base, which I absolutely love interacting with you all. So please do consider doing that. And remember to like and subscribe as well to the video. Now, let's have a look at let's go into a little more detail actually, on Nick Woltemade's performance, because once I saw him in the number 10 role yesterday, I was really intrigued to see how he'd do, because I thought when he came on against Brentford and played that position, I thought he was really good. Thought he made a difference in interlinking the play. And yes, fair enough, he didn't score or necessarily create a lot, but we were better with him on the pitch. And ultimately, if you've got a player on the pitch who you're better with, then I think that you're in a position whereby they should be playing most games. Now, I thought he was brilliant. I thought he was absolutely brilliant. I thought this was a sensational performance from Woltemade. And you're watching him, and I don't know how anyone can watch him and not tell me he is not a top footballer. He has it all. The technique, the way of pass, the way he brings others into play, the way he creates space for people. He's tactically intelligent. He might not be a goal scorer in the sense of like getting you 20, 25 goals a season. He might not be. He probably isn't. But he is a sensational player. Like, we were playing the ball into him first half and second half, and he was holding off 3-4 men at a time and then sending it out wide to the right and to the left, creating space for Trippier, creating space for Lewis Hall, creating space for Harvey Barnes, creating space for Jacob Murphy. Because when you play the ball into his feet, he draws all those players into him. All the players flock, all the opposition players run towards him because they see this big guy who they think they can nick the ball off, right? They think they can nick the ball off him because he is 6'7" and he is probably not the strongest guy. But I'll tell you what, you're not going to be able to get the ball off him. And instead he wriggles his way out of it and he passes it out wide and he creates an opportunity for us to have a chance at goal. And up front in the number 9, in the last few weeks when he's been playing there, he's looked lost. He's looked isolated because we've been asking him to be this aggressive, pressing striker, and he can't do it. And we're leaving him isolated. But we saw last night that you get the ball into his feet, and you get players around him, you get runners off him, and you're going to cause teams havoc. You're going to cause teams havoc. Like, and that's if we play him as a number 9 or as a number 10. So, like, yeah, I mean, I'm seeing some comments here from Gav House. He's saying, yeah, expecting him to lose the ball and never happened. Yeah, he gets the ball and it looks like he's going to lose it at a dangerous position and he just wriggles his way out of it and he finds the pass. And, like, I understand that for a £69 million striker, people maybe want more goals from him because he signed as a striker. And even in the first half yesterday, Alan Shearer criticised him. Like, he criticised him. Like, and I didn't get it. I didn't get the criticism. Yes, he was deep, but he was asked to play deep. And also that's where he feels more comfortable. Like, I just feel as if the criticism for him was totally wrong at halftime. I didn't agree with it. Yes, Alan Shearer is Newcastle's greatest ever striker and the Premier League's greatest ever striker. He understands what it is to be a number 9. I think Woltemade is this new breed of forward whereby he's kind of a 9 and kind of a 10. And he's such a talent. Like, you're seeing some of these rumours that we're going to sell him in the summer, which I'm totally convinced is absolute nonsense because you've got to build the team around this bloke. You have got to build the team around this bloke. If you can get the right players around him, the runners off him, honestly, he will be absolutely brilliant for Newcastle because this guy is so unique, a unique footballer in every way, a striker a forward, whatever you want to call him, who has wonderful technique, wonderful ability. He's got better vision than some centre midfielders in the Premier League. He's seeing things that other people aren't seeing. And, like, honestly, it was a top display from it on his birthday as well. Ends the goal drought. Really good finish. Smashes it in the top corner. And the thing is, if you look at his goals for Newcastle, I'm just going to check how many goals he's got. I believe it's 10 this season for Newcastle in all comps, but I'm just going to have a double check. But look, if you think of his goals for Newcastle this season, I mean, all of them really are good finishes. Like, their back heel against Brighton, so good. The header against Arsenal, the header against Wolves, the second one against Chelsea, that lovely volley guided in that he put in the bottom corner last night, bashes it in the top corner. His penalty against Nottingham Forest, I know it's a penalty, but it was aesthetically very pleasing. Like, so for Newcastle altogether, he has 10 goals in 38 games, and he has 4 assists, which for a guy who, again, I'm saying is probably not actually a striker, is a forward. I think if by the end of the season he's at 25 sort of goal contributions, then that is a top debut season. And we need to find a way to get him into the team, get him playing games. If it is with Asula up front, or if it is with Gordon up front, or if it is with Visser up front and Woltemade in the 10, and we abandon the 4-3-3, then that's fine. That is absolutely fine. Because what matters actually is Newcastle being at the best as a team. And I think the best we're going to be as a team is with Woltemade in it. Now, on the latest Inside the Toon, I did actually say that I would have started Gordon up front against Aston Villa, because I was looking at it and thinking that we can't seem to find a way of getting Woltemade involved in the game. Like, we can't adapt to his game. So I was saying that, like, for the short term, I'm wondering if you kind of go for something else, and then in the summer you build the team around Woltemade. But his performance last night has totally changed my mind. I'll be absolutely honest about that and say I got that one wrong. Totally wrong, in fact. Like, I was watching him and I just was so impressed, like, with this display from him. I get it that he might not, and again, the criticism from Shearer made no sense for me, because I understood, oh yeah, he's too deep or whatever, but that's not his game. That's not his game. I know he's meant to be a striker or whatever, but I think he's his new type of forward. He's like a unicorn of a footballer, I guess. There's not many players I can think of who are a bit like him. I saw someone compare him to Thomas Muller, which I thought was quite interesting, because I suppose he was just kind of roaming around doing it once. Now, I said Muller probably got in the box a bit more, but I just think his all-round play, the fact he just didn't lose the ball at all, and a lot of his passing was forwards, creating space for other people. We were a better team with him in the team. We controlled the game because of Woltemade being in that 10 role, and the fact that we could find him with the passes. He could get it from the centre-backs, he could get it from the full-backs, he could get it from the midfielders. And from there, he just caused all sorts of problems. You know, like, I was great. It was great. It was great. And what I'll say is, look, I think he's deserved criticism over maybe the last few months, because I think he's looked a bit tired. Because I think one thing we forget with Woltemade is he's not actually had that much senior football, you know, before joining Newcastle. And then Visser gets injured and Asula was injured. So we had one striker to play every single game, and he had to play up front on his own in that sort of aggressive 4-3-3 pressing style that we have. And he was looking lost in a lot of games, especially, and he was looking weaker and he was looking tired. And, like, I'm just pleased that now, with the fact we can rotate him a little bit more, I think we're going to see the best from Nick Woltemade from now until the end of the season. Again, kind of like Jacob Ramsey, who I think is going to be a key player for us from now until the end of the season as well. And I just feel as if this is really, really strong from Woltemade, and I was delighted to see him play so well. Really pleased he got a goal. He's only 24. He's someone you have to build the team around. And if we do build the team around him, we've got the potential of some of some special of a special talent on our hands, and that's what I think about that. And again, like, thought that I don't know how I guess don't know how it'll work. I suppose for the rest of the season, hopefully Johan Visser can maybe finally start to show what he's about. But he's injured. He's injured again, and like, we're starting to look at now, and I'm really, really concerned about this signing. At this point, I'm really concerned about this signing. I feel like £55 million didn't even hit the ground running. He gets injured, and he struggles. You know, he's really struggling. He's struggling when he's been playing. He's struggling in every single part of his game. What's annoying me more is just the fact that I feel like he's not even running up front. Like, okay, Asula last night starts, hits a shot for a throw in. Not probably his best game, but what we'll say is he pressed the centre backs, he pressed the goalkeeper. He was battling for the shirt. He was running for the shirt. He was charging about, was Asula, and he was making it more difficult for Aston Villa to play out from the back. And I appreciate that again. I mean, that shot they had for a throw in, I mean, that was actually hilarious. I don't know how he did that. Like, inside the box, puts out for a throw in. Like, how do you do that? I don't know how he did it, but he did. Like, so you're looking at it and you're just thinking, okay, for the rest of the season, you get Woltemade in the 10, you play Tonali, Ramsey, or Tonali, Joe Linton, or Ramsey, Joe Linton, whatever. The fact is, the matter is that, like, then when Bruno comes back, you can put Bruno in. So I think that with that, I mean, Asula, again, like, I appreciate the criticism of him. I understand it. I don't think he's the best player ever, but I do think that what I will always never criticize him for is he grafts and he runs and he puts the other team under pressure, which is more than what Johan Visser was doing against Brentford. You know, it was so easy for the Brentford centre backs to just kind of like wander out from the back under no pressure whatsoever and just like play it anywhere they wanted to with Visser sort of half-heartedly closing them down. Like, at least Asula's not going to let you do that. He'll change after the centre back, and then he'll chase after the goalkeeper, and then he'll get back into position. And he did do well in one point where he put a nice little ball through for Harvey Barnes, who fired it wide. But I think that if you are going to play, if Woltemade isn't a striker and he is going to be more sort of a number 10, then I think that we will see a new striker come in the summer. And I think that it'll probably be a top young European forward. Don't exactly know who. There's a few names, of course, along with Aguilar from Porto, but I think he's injured now, so maybe not looking at that one. But I think for the rest of the season, I wouldn't be upset with Gordon as the striker, Woltemade in the 10, with Barnes, Alanga as your starting wingers mainly. I think Murphy has had a really, really poor season again last night. Really disappointing match from Jacob Murphy, to be honest. Like, yeah, he probably should have. Well, he got a bad tackle on him by Luca Dean. I mean, that was definitely a foul and a red card. And then he did well to win the red card off Bezo. But actually, his first touch for that was terrible. Like, if you let the ball run across him, he's in 1-on-1. But I don't know what he did. But look, Murphy was brilliant last season. Absolutely incredible. Jacob Murphy last year, so good. You know, him and Alexander Isak, deadly combination. Murphy putting it on a plate for Isak all the time. Think that now he doesn't have Isak, and those crosses aren't quite finding their mark. His crossing is still top draw. Jacob Murphy, like, if you look at a lot of the balls he's played in this season, he should have more assists than he has, because players like Visser, Gordon have missed those opportunities that he's put on a plate for them. But if he's not putting a cross in, what is he doing in general play? Because it just seems like he just loses the ball all of the time. There was one point yesterday where I lost it with him, where he got the ball on the right-hand side and he dribbled infield, and he had Woltemade standing next to him. He had Asula up front. He could have passed it back to Tonali, could have passed it to Murphy, or could have even turned around and passed it back to Trippier, and he lost the ball. So he had 6 options to play a pass, and he lost the ball. And I just couldn't believe it. It was so bad. And again, he was so bad with And he was so bad on against Saturday against Brentford as well. He got a lower rating by who scored than Christian Romero. Romero got sent off after half an hour. Murphy's one of these players who, what a transformation for him, by the way, from this player who Rafa Benitez wasn't a big fan of, then Steve Bruce put him at right wing back, and he became a key part of a team that got in the Champions League. He became a key part of winning the Carabao Cup. He's a Newcastle fan. He's living the dream, and he seems like such a great bloke. Like the banter he has on the pitch and the banter he has off on the pitch, clearly a massive part of the dressing room. But we're at the point now where if we're going to be this Project 2030, it's probably time for players like him to move on, unfortunately. You thank them for their service. Loyal player. He's lived the dream. He's been a Newcastle fan. He's got to play for his boyhood team. It's just time now for him to potentially, move on, and that's it. It's not. It's football. It's football. It's not. I don't want to sit here and slag the guy off at all, because he's been brilliant for us. He really has, and the transformation for him has been excellent. But it just comes to a point. It just comes to a point, doesn't it? It just comes to a point where you thank him for what he's done, and you're moving on, and you're moving on, and you move him on, and that's all it is. That's all it is. It's nothing against him. It's nothing against what he's delivered for Newcastle. It's just time now for him to go. It's time for him, and it's the same with a few of them. It's the same for a few of them. Trulls is heading off. Thank you, Trulls. Appreciate you coming on once again. And Michael has just joined us. Hello, Michael. Welcome. And again, if you're listening on the radio, please do head over. If you're listening on DAB or whatever, please head over to NUFC Talk TV. Get involved with the chat. Get involved with the comments. And I'll be going through some more comments in a little bit. But I'm actually going to look. I'm sorry. We've got to look back at the referee, because Chris Kavanagh and his assistants, without VAR, delivered one of the all-time stinkers. One of the all-time stinkers. Genuinely. What on earth was the referee doing? The decisions, well, we'll go through them all. So, the first goal for Aston Villa, really clever set-piece routine, fair play. Douglas Luiz, it looks like Morgan Rogers is going to have a shot. Douglas Luiz steps up, he dinks it over the top. Newcastle's defence are holding their offside line on the 18-yard box, so the linesman has a marker. He's got a marker of okay, so this is actually where their offside is. And if you lean to the right, you could see there was 4 of them offside. There was 4 players offside, including the goal scorer, Tammy Abraham, who was a yard offside. The rest of them were just offside. Tammy Abraham was a yard offside. So, of course, he was unmarked. Yes, he gets in. It's a decent touch and a decent finish. But then, I can't believe it was. I can't believe it wasn't ruled out. I can't believe it wasn't. It was unbelievable. I was fuming. And then you have a look at the fact that we have VAR there. We had the goal ruled out against Tottenham for Willock because his hair was offside. Now that was absolute nonsense anyway, because there's meant to be a 5 centimetre sort of, leeway rule? 5 centimetre leeway rule, which applied to Liverpool against Fulham for Florian Wirtz's goal. We didn't get that. Willock gets ruled out. It was a brilliant finish by Willock as well. Ex-Arsenal player at Tottenham, would have meant a lot to him. Anyway, that's ruled out. Then we move on to Saturday, last night, and that is ruled out. It was terrible. It was absolutely terrible. What an awful decision from the assistant referee. And incredibly, it actually got worse. So at 1-0, again, I thought Newcastle started the game well. At 1-0, we move on. Lewis Hall dances in the box. Victor Lindelof sticks a leg out, brings him down. Referee's 5 yards away. It is a blatant penalty. No, play on. Yeah, no, he's a play on. What? I couldn't believe it again. And then Danny Murphy on co-coms was saying, nah, he's not like in that. Now, I appreciate they only showed one replay of it. So I suppose he was like, okay, maybe he didn't say it properly. I'm sure at half time he actually saw it again and was like, oh, actually, yeah, it was a penalty. Because that is a penalty. There is no way that's not a penalty. Like, he just brings him down. It is a blatant spot kick. It is a blatant spot kick. So, like, that was terrible. And then, a few minutes later, Hall gets the ball left back. He plays a delightful pass over the top for Barnes. Barnes is in on goal. He's sort of jostling with Lamar Bogard, who sort of lunges at him, clearly catches him, brings him down. That's not a penalty either. Now, that one was probably a bit more of a 50-50, but I still thought after the fact that we didn't get the one for Lewis Hall, there was that one on Barnes. I was like, well, okay, he was probably going to actually realise, well, I made a mistake there. I might give I'll even it up. I'll give a penalty there. No, he didn't give a penalty either. So that one, again, I don't that one was as blatant as the Lewis Hall one, but still, I think you've seen them given. And then we have the Luca Din tackle on Jigger Murphy, whereby he's given a yellow card. You see it again. You're like, that is a red card. I mean, he comes in above his ankle, studs up, crunches into Jigger Murphy's shin pad. If he doesn't have a shin pad on, if he doesn't have a shin pad on, right, Murphy's in trouble there. That's potentially a broken leg, I think. So that was a red card. Couldn't believe that wasn't given. Then Bezo gets sent off, fair enough. But, there was 3 players on goal, like, it causes a red card. And then we have the worst decision, which Wayne Rooney's called, I think Wayne Rooney called it one of the worst decisions he's ever seen in football. Now, Wayne Rooney has been in football for quite a long time. And he said it was one of the worst decisions he's ever seen in football. So that tells you all you need to know about how bad this decision was. Again, Woltemade does really well. He plays it out to Trippier. Trippier puts the cross in. Nicodin's arm is up there. Like, yeah, no worries, yeah. At no point does he leave the penalty area. He is stood in the penalty box, 4 yards in the penalty box. It hits his hand. Chris Kavanagh says, yeah, that's a foul. Everyone in the stadium, everyone watching on TV is like, well, he's going to point the spot. And he doesn't. He gives a free kick to Newcastle in the position where Kieran Trippier took the free. Like, that is truly baffling. Truly baffling. Like, he's given the free kick from where Kieran Trippier. Now, Tripp couldn't believe it. In fact, there was like 7 Newcastle players around him. Couldn't believe it. I saw Howe on the sideline as well, who is one of the more reserved Premier League managers, actually. When it comes to talking to the 4th official, he doesn't usually do it. Usually Jason Tindall does, of course, but he doesn't usually do it. He couldn't believe it either. Dino was like, how on earth have I got away with that? That should probably be a second yellow card as well, by the way. Because you've been booked already, and then you stick your hand up like that, and you make a block. Now, I will blame the referee for that one. I'll also blame the assistant referee for that one, who was the same assistant referee who and wasn't 10 yards away, is incredible. He's looking right at it. He's 10 yards away. He's looking right at it. And he doesn't give the penalty. It's just a relief that we won. It's a relief that we scored the actual resulting free kick, because honestly, it's shocking. Absolutely shocking decision. Now, where are we actually at with, like, what's going on in terms of, like, I'm trying to think, where are we actually at when you think about, like, VR then? 5th round of the FA. So not available in the 4th round of the FA Cup. 5th round of the FA Cup, it comes into play. Now, without, like, VR has caused so many issues because for whatever reason, it's not improved. It hasn't improved for a long time. It is struggle. It really is a struggle. I don't know what the issue is with it. It's a problem. It's been a problem for ages. Now, without it, can they not do anything anymore? Genuinely. What? What was going on? So bad. Like, it was like, there was, they haven't got the VR, so they just don't make a decision in the end. And the argument now for, well, should VR be in all stages going to be quite strong. It was a good debate on talkSPORT between Hugh Wozencroft and Scott Minto. It's going to be a good debate going forward as well. I don't understand it. I don't understand it. No one understands it. No one understands what happened there. No one understands how that was when given. Villa fans even were absolutely baffled as well. Like, yes, he got the red card right for Bezo, but like the rest of really poor, really, really disappointing stuff from there. You've got to be better than that. Question about it. You've got to be better than that. In all capabilities, you've got to be a better referee than that. Now, again, I appreciate the fact that without VR, they just felt like they just couldn't make a decision to rely, or is it again just the actual standard of the officials? I don't know. I don't know what it is. But what I do know is that in the end, it made it a very, very sweet victory. And for me, winning the season, no Bruno Guimaraes had some of the worst decisions given against us I've ever seen. And we still came out on top. We still won. That is a big, big statement. And I really enjoyed Kieran Trippier's interview after the game. Again, a player who I have criticised this season simply because I feel like we're playing as many games as he. And that's more the point of the fact that, look, that's more to do with squad building and the fact that he's been an excellent player for us. Arguably one of our best ever signings. I don't think there's even a question about it. Which is at the point now where he's probably not we need him to be. He's another player who I would thank forever for what he's given my football club. But really strong from Trippier, whereby he said that we want, and seen some of the stuff online, Eddie Howe being Newcastle and Newcastle fans rightfully criticising Eddie Howe, by the way. Rightfully criticising. I'm not happy. I try and watch once, I appreciate at the level it should have been, and that numerous things. But one of the things is on Eddie Howe. So, like, that's where, but I really like Trippier's interview where he said that, look, this was for the gaffer, this was for the manager, and this team fully behind Eddie Howe. Fully behind Eddie Howe. Like, no, the squad has never turned. You saw that even in the second half against Brentford. They were fighting for him. Yes, we fighting for him. Against Spurs, it was a battling performance. They were fighting for him as well. And then equally, they were fighting for him once again yesterday, properly fighting for him. I loved the Toon Army interview from Alanga as well. Todd Alanga's been speaking about how much Eddie Howe means to him and how Eddie Howe's one of the reasons he came to Newcastle, and equally that he has improved him a lot. Now, I haven't seen that, but I haven't seen that. So I haven't seen that as of yet. But like, I suppose you haven't seen all of it from Alanga yet. I think he's improving, but what we'll say is like, yeah, look, I think what we'll say is that how he is turning it around. Because my stream is struggling. It's all fine on my end. It's a bit. Yeah, sounds still all right. Sometimes the internet is a bit dodgy here. I'll try and move somewhere else next time. But yeah, I mean, to be honest, I had to just set up in here. I usually don't, but I did have to set up in here. But yeah, so apology for the connection issues. As I said, it's on the stream. It looks fine on my end, but again, I can maybe give it a refresh. Give me. Doo-doo-doo. Right, I'm gonna refresh. Back soon enough. But, yeah, apologies about that. Pardon. But yes, hopefully we're coming back soon enough. Right, okay. I don't know if that's improved it or not, but yeah. Right, I don't know what's going on there. Right. That is very strange. Apologies about this. I don't really know what's going on. Usually, and that's absolutely fine. Usually all the time, but I don't really know what's going on there. As I said, it's absolutely fine on my end. Like I'm watching it on the stream, and it's absolutely fine. I do have it open on the YouTube and another page, and yeah, it's not great at all, is it? It's pretty bad actually. To be fair, don't actually know what is going on with that. To be fair, I'm looking at the internet, and it all seems fine. So apologies. Hopefully we can get through the last half an hour or so, and it's all right. But yeah, apologies for that. Try and make sure I'm a bit closer, maybe to the router or something next time. Not ideal. So sorry about that one. But yeah, I mean, I can't remember where I was. Oh, let's have a look at some comments. Why not? So Christina K, I think that Eddie Howe has deserved criticism this season. I'm not. I think that if we points dropped from winning positions, I think if we he has deserved criticism because I think that you've got to look at it from the point of view of how has not been able to deliver with the squad that he has been a lot of the time. Like I think we may not get the best out of Woltemade. We haven't get the best out of numerous people. To be fair, this season, a lot of players haven't delivered well. To be honest, you know that is a fair point. I don't know. Right. Yeah. I mean, so I think that Howe has deserved criticism this season. I don't think that's a unfair thing about it. But like, yeah, you be better. Howe, and for me, that's always been the thing that I want the best for Newcastle United. Like, yeah, I mean, apologies, I don't really know what's going on with the internet. Like, I am looking into it, and like, it seems like it's the usual signal strength I've got when everything works. works normally. I'm in the same position that I usually am, where everything sort of works normally. But yeah, I can, as I said, I can see I have got it open on the YouTube, and it isn't working. Right then, let's see if that's any better. Right, I don't know if this is going to be any better, but this is what I'm trying. So let's see if it works. Good stuff. Right, we've finally sorted it out. Apologies about this. Apologies about the internet. I don't know what actually. I genuinely don't know what actually happened. To be fair, usually it's absolutely fine. But yeah, apologies about that. So sorry, anyone else again who was actually listening on to the again who was listening on the radio as well. Bit of technical issues, which they can happen. Hopefully we're back to everything being fine for the last sort of 25 minutes. But yes, apologies for all of that. Thank you for sticking with me throughout it. Now, look, I mean, I thought that there was just a lot of really good stuff from yesterday. And I think it's been a really important week for Newcastle and Eddie Howe. I've enjoyed a lot of the stuff from the way the players have been interacting and the way the fans have been dealing with it as well. Just think that a lot of it is, a lot of it I think is this season's been a strange season. It's been really frustrating in a lot of ways. I think that it goes all the way back to the start of the year, and I do think that when it comes to this sort of the Eddie Howe out people and Eddie Howe in people and stuff, like ultimately for me, it's not about either of those things. It's what's best for Newcastle United. And that's because ultimately that's all we want. We want Newcastle United to be the best football club it possibly can be. And what I will say is that with Howe, like it's been brilliant. It's been absolutely incredible. Like what a manager. What he's done is unbelievable. But this season, rightfully so, I've understood the idea of like the perception that ultimately there has been some problems, there has been some issues, and there has been signs that maybe it's coming stale and maybe it's becoming towards the end of his time here. There have been those signs. I don't think we're silly to. I don't think we're silly to stay. I don't think we're silly to say that that's not the case. But what I will say is, until the players turn against him and believe that he's not the right man, then I think that's when it's bad. When you say what happened to Thomas Frank, clearly he didn't have the buy-in at Tottenham. And there's been other managers this season who didn't have the buy-in either. I don't think Sean Dyche had the buy-in from the Nottingham Forest players for whatever reason. But the players at Newcastle are still fully invested in Eddie Howe. So, but what again, like the summer, going all the way back to the summer, losing Alexander Isak when you build your team around this guy was always going to cause some problems. The only player who had any pre-season really was Elanga, and he's been poor. I think at the start, Elanga actually played well in games. I thought he was very unlucky against Barcelona not to get quite a few assists in the matches because, like, he was playing some brilliant football actually at the start of the season. There was a couple of times he put some balls on a plate for Anthony Gordon, who didn't score, and we're probably looking at he probably should be in a better position. But then from September, his performances were very, very poor up until the last few weeks. Jacob Ramsey is split opinion. I think probably more people are actually on the side against me, whereby they think that he's been a bad signing so far. Meanwhile, for me, I just thought he's playing a different role to what we saw in Aston Villa. I thought actually most of the times he played, he kept it neat and tidy. He didn't lose possession. Yeah, maybe he wasn't having shots or maybe creating too much, but I always thought I could see the player there. I've always really, really, really liked him. Like, he's a player I've really liked for a long, long time. I have genuinely, like, when I saw him at Aston Villa, I was like, this guy's the perfect Eddie Howe Newcastle midfielder, because he's got the energy, he's got the drive, but he's got that added technique that some of our other midfielders potentially don't have. He's got an eye for goal as well. And we're seeing now the best of Jacob Ramsey. Now, I've seen a comment from Gav House, which is absolutely fair enough, saying bench play for Villa for most of the part. Well, a lot of the time he was injured. He does have a bad injury record. Now, I think if we get to the point where he's seen the last of his injuries, a lot of Villa fans, including my colleague Dan Bardell, is a huge fan of Ramsey. He's a huge fan of Ramsey. He always said he would be in their starting team if he didn't pick up those bad injuries. So for me, I was so excited when we signed him, and now I'm buzzing to see what he can do in the rest of the season. Really, really excited to see what he can do in the rest of the season. I think that his performance against PSG was incredible. Away against PSG was incredible. And I thought his performance against Tottenham was really, really good. I was liking how many shots he was having. Lovely goal. And then last night, I thought he was good. He was good. He was good. He was really good. Didn't lose possession much. Driving forward with the ball, finding great pockets of space. Linked up nicely with Woltemade. Like, he's so good at, like, again, he's another player who's like press resistant. So we have a couple of players now who are press resistant, which is something that Bruno's the only one who's really press resistant, because Tonali's actually pretty poor if someone presses him when he's got his back to goal. That's usually when he loses the ball. So that's what I think with Ramsey. I think Alanga will be our starting right winger for the majority of the rest of the season, because I think Murphy's performances have just dropped off a cliff for whatever reason. And I think Alanga's starting to look a lot more confident. I really enjoyed his interview with the BBC, actually. I thought it was really good. His little girl is going to be a Geordie as well, which is great. I think Woltemade, as I was waxing lyrical about for 15, 20 minutes there, is a unique footballer. No one in the Premier League has anyone like him. I saw a comparison to Berbatov before, which I think is actually a really good one. I like that one. He is probably a bit like Berbatov, but he actually works harder than Berbatov. And he's so tactically intelligent. I really think that he might not be necessarily a traditional number 9. In fact, I don't think he's a traditional number 9, but I'm really excited to see what he can do for the rest of his time as a Newcastle player, which will hopefully be a long, long time. Malik Chow has been an absolute guaranteed hit. Like, I don't know how he's still playing at the level he is, given the games he's playing. He's a goal-scoring threat as well. Like, I don't know how AC Milan didn't play him. I'm watching him, and he is class. He will be at Germany at this World Cup, and I'll be surprised if he doesn't start, because what a player. I mean, genuinely, what a player. So he's already on 38 games for Newcastle, and he started and played every single Premier League game since the 0-0 draw with Bournemouth, which was 5 games into the season. He's played every single Premier League game since, playing 90 minutes in all of them bar one, which was against Leeds, where he had, admittedly, an absolute stinker in that game. He has played every minute of the FA Cup so far. He's played every minute of the Carabao Cup. And he's played every minute of the Champions League bar Barcelona at home. So he's playing to such a level. You know, he's playing at such a level that I am massively impressed with him. I'm so impressed with him. Really, really enjoying everything I'm seeing for him. Like, and I don't know, when we signed him, I didn't think there was actually too much excitement around him. I feel like there was a lot of fans who were a bit like, yeah, not too sure, but like, no. He's so good. He is brilliant. He's fantastic. So he's been class. And then Johan Vissa, like, look, really disappointed. Really disappointed. Like, gets injured immediately, turns 29 straight away, £55 million. And then he comes back. He scores early on in his Premier League. He scores on his first start as well for us against Fulham. And he scores in the Champions League and he looks better. But then, like, what's annoyed me more, again, over everything, is just how the lack of effort that he seems to be putting in these games. Like, run around, man. Like, fight for the shirt. Like, we've had bad players. Newcastle have had some terrible players in the past, much worse than Johan Vissa. But they put the effort in. They ran around. They fought to be Newcastle players. And, like, I'm not seeing it from Vissa so far. And, like, it disappoints me because he spoke about how much he wanted to join Newcastle. He spoke about how growing up he was inspired by Demba Ba and Pape Cisse. Where is it then? Where is it, man? Where is it? Come on. Like, show me what you're worth. Like, you're going to lose this position in the team because I don't think Howe will accept a striker who's not running around. Because I know Woltemade is not the quickest, but when he does play as the number 9, he still does actually try and press. It does unbalance us, but he does still actually try and press. So I need to see more. That's why I won't be surprised if actually, unless he doesn't run in his next game whenever he's fit, because now he's injured, like, we'd see Asula or Gordon up front instead. Because one thing that we all know we're going to get from them two, is the ability to press. Now, looking ahead, of course, to games that are coming thick and fast. By this time next week, we'll have played 4 away games in the space of 10 days-ish. So really, really limited amount of time. And so 4 away games in that very short period of time. Like, really, really good. If we could come out of this with, I'd take a draw at Carabao away, just simply because it's such a long way. They did draw Chelsea at home. They're not a bad team. They're not a bad team. I think we can smash them at home, no matter what. But, like, apart from that, I feel like I'd take a draw. Manchester City away, I'm not expecting much. They're going for the Premier League title. We can pick up points in other games. We can. So we'll probably lose that one. It's fine. I'd like to see a good performance again, and we'll take it from there. Now, injury-wise, there wasn't great news on Vissa, as I said, going to be out for a few games or something with a knock, whatever that means. Botman rested because he felt his back again. Now, I hope this isn't the start of another injury for Botman because he's been brilliant. Like, we've seen the old Botman back. Since he signed that new deal, it's been an absolute rock at the back. So good. I saw at the start of the season he was a bit inconsistent. There was a few games he was actually really, really poor, but really back to the old Botman. Really, really happy with what I've seen from him. So please don't be injured. Please just actually be rested. If he even has to be rested for the next 2 games, then he needs to be rested for the next 2 games. Just as long as he's back to play, Manchester United coming up, Chelsea coming up, etc. So yeah, that's why I think with Botman. Miley, the longest dead leg in history. Dead leg usually doesn't keep a player out for this long, but anyway, it's a dead leg that is continuing to keep him out. Would love to get Miley back, simply just so we can give Trippier a rest. I think Trippier has stepped up in the last few games, apart from against Brentford, where, he's at fault for every goal, but stepped up in the last 2 games. Good performances from him, but he does need a rest. His legs are going. So I feel like I would like to see Miley back at right back. I'd love him in midfield as well. Of course, he is a midfielder, but at right back, he does look extremely solid. I've got no problems with him playing right back for the rest of the season or until Tino Livramento is back. Now, Joe Linton's going to be back soon as well. Again, not expecting him back for Karabag or Manchester City, but hopefully after that. And then if we're going to be playing the 4-2-3-1, then for me, Joelinton probably has got a bit more of a fight on his hands to get in the team, but that's fine. I like the competition in the midfield, which is great. So, and then obviously you do play the 4-2-3-1 for the times that Woltemade doesn't play. Then I would go for so I would go for Ramsey in the 10 if we're gonna play like that in those sort of games. And then we had, who else is that? Tino Livramento. So, I mean, it's disappointing season for Tino Livramento. I mean, I'm just going to have a look at how many games he's been out so far but how many games he's actually played this season. It doesn't feel like he's played many at all, Tino, which is such a shame, especially with the World Cup coming up. I think he'll go either way to the World Cup because he can play right back and left back, and that's so important in a tournament like that, whereby if England are winning, losing, drawing, whatever, you can bring a player on like that. I mean, he's played 19 games this season, to be fair. It doesn't feel like he's played that many. I mean, he's only played 3 times in the Champions League. In the Premier League, he missed 5 games with a knee injury, then he missed another 3 with a knee injury, and then he's currently out with a hamstring injury. So he's not played often. And the most annoying thing, I think, is for Tino Livramento is the fact that he has... Well, he's not played with Hall very often. And one of our best performances of the season was Everton away, where him and Lewis Hall played together. And they were absolutely brilliant. They were so good. Like, because Tino Livramento is so good technically, he can push himself forward. He can cause problems. He can do whatever he needs to do. He can get forward. He can get in the pockets of space in midfield. Lewis Hall, we all know how good Lewis Hall is. So, would be nice to see them two back in the team playing together again. That would be really, really good. We would like to see that, wouldn't we? I don't think there's any question over that. So the injuries have been an issue. There's no question about it. They have been an issue. But what we're going to see for the rest of the season, I don't know. In terms of these players coming back, we really hope Tino's back soon. Are we in the last few months of Tino Livramento's time at Newcastle? I don't know. Now, talkSPORT understands he's shown no willingness to sign a new contract, which is concerning, given that Newcastle gave him a chance after his ACL, and Eddie Howe has helped grow him as a player. And every time he speaks about Newcastle, he seems to absolutely love it. But now, Manchester City have been heavily linked with him. They've also been linked with Michael Coyote from Brentford, who's unbelievable right back. Extremely good player. He's also got a long throw as well, which is massive for us. Now, with Tino Livramento, I think that in terms of defensively, not many better fullbacks in the league. I think the way of how good he is at carrying the ball and his passing is also absolutely top draw. I think the only part of his game that probably needs any work on is crossing. His crossing's probably not the best. You know, Lewis Hall's a much better crosser of the ball than Tino Livramento, but I'd be good to lose him personally. I do think he will go, though. I do think he will go in the summer. And I'm seeing Aviv Ferry's fees being thrown about here, 80 million, 60 million. I think 60 million, probably 60, 65 million. I think Tino Livramento would be away. And I'd wish him nothing but the best. You know, he's a guy who's given everything to the badge every single time he stepped out on the field. And he has grown a lot as a player. He put in some unbelievable performances for us. There's not many wingers who've managed to beat him in 1v1s. I think Antoine Semenyo is one of the only players I can think of who's actually done it. So I think that Livramento will probably move on. Again, I don't know that. I'm sure we'll find out a bit more clear. I just feel like he's not signed a new contract yet. You know, getting the stage where I appreciate he might be waiting at the end of the season, which if he is, fair enough. But then it's the end of the season, then he's going to the World Cup. So then he comes back from the World Cup. So then it'd be a case of, well, has he had a good World Cup? Etc. etc. Manchester City could look elsewhere. I don't know who else would sign him. Arsenal have been linked, which is potential. of that being an option as well. Again, as far as we know, at talkSPORT, it's just Manchester City who are the team who are very much interested in him. So that's the one to watch in the summer. But let's hope he can just come back soon and stay injury-free for the rest of the season, because I do think he deserves to go at the World Cup. I think he'd be a very important player for Thomas Tuchel's team. At left back, Lewis Hall is England's left back. There's not even a doubt in my mind that Hall is England's left back. I've had arguments with Arsenal fans. I've had arguments with other people about Lewis Skelly. I mean, it's just a joke. He's not even on the same planet as Lewis Hall in any way. Hall is an elite footballer, and I get this idea of that. As a Newcastle fan, I'll be accused of saying that, well, I'm just overhyping my player. Well, you could argue that. Also, you could just have eyes and see how good Lewis Hall is. Like, anyone can watch him and tell me that this guy is not on another level to most other fullbacks, both defensively and going forward. He will start for England. He will ball out for England. And then Newcastle need to get him a new contract and make one of the highest paid players in the club, because he needs to stay. Project 2030 does not happen if you lose players like Lewis Hall. Newcastle picked him out brilliantly. They have developed him. If you think about that first season he joined, looked really like a little boy. He looked lost, like a little boy. He looked lost. Remember that Dortmund game away where he got subbed off after 45 minutes? He had an absolute stinker. But they worked with him for a year. They taught him how to play the left back. And then last season, he was our best player up until January, when he got injured against Liverpool, missed the Carabao Cup final. In the end, we did have a very good season, and we didn't miss him too much. And then this year, start the year injured, and then since then come back being probably our second best player. In terms of consistency, you could argue he's been our best player, but I think Bruno tops it just about, just because of those moments that Bruno's had. But Hall's been our consistently 7 out of 10, basically every game. We win, lose or draw, he's always unbelievable. So, got to be a priority there. That we've got to get his contract sorted. Got to make him a top earner at the club. No question about it. This guy is elite. He will be England's left back for years, as long as he stays injury free. You have to watch him for mere moments to understand that he's brilliant. So that's what I think about with Lewis Hall. And I mean, it's really nice going at these games off some wins. Big positive wins. Eddie Howe, pressure lifted off him just that little bit. Players fighting for him. Like, they are giving everything for their manager, because they know the manager's given everything to them, both collectively and individually. And they all bleed black and white. So I'm hoping that this is now the start of a great run for Newcastle. We can turn it around. A lot of players are finding some form now after difficult starts to the season, even without Bruno, which we all know is a crushing blow. But I think the fact that I've come on here, and for an hour and a half, apart from 15 minutes or my internet went down, which again, apologies for. Apart from that, I think that we can look at it and say that I've just spent this entire time, and I've not really spoke about missing Bruno too much. I think shows you just how important that win was yesterday. And let's just hope that this is a start to a great end to the season. Now, thank you all for watching, as usual. Please do remember to like and subscribe. Sign up to NTTV as well, £4.99. If anyone's on Instagram, that is my username, jack.kun96. So please do drop me a follow. I have just signed up to that, so please do drop me a follow. And again, a reminder about Inside the Toon, talkSPORT's dedicated Newcastle United show. It is on weekly, and we are giving you Newcastle content, 50-minute show, all about Newcastle, by Newcastle fans, for Newcastle fans. It's the only time talkSPORT have ever done it. We really, really want people to watch it, and so I can keep it going for next season and grow it as well. And so if you could all please do that, that would be brilliant. But thank you very much for all tuning in. I'll have a look when I'm back next week. I've got it in my diary, but I can't remember. I will make sure the internet's better for next time. I'll get a bit closer to the router. That might help. I'll get an Ethernet cable as well. So I am on next Thursday at 11 a.m. So please do, before you go, please do like and subscribe. And we will see you all later. Thank you very much. Have a great rest of your day.